Studios comes the most epic, face-melting, mind-obliterating, galactic adventure since the beginning of time itself. What? Yeah, it's that good. Tame the land, decimate your enemies, and Vector is about to get an ass-kicking. Welcome to Wildstar.
GRTV at Nordic Game, and now I'm here with Megan from Carbine Studios. You've been doing a lot of press lately. How exhausted are you by now?
Pretty jet lagged. I'm about to go home tomorrow morning. We have a after party tonight at like 2 a.m. and my flight's at 6 in the morning, so that should be fun. But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, it's been really fun.
You've been showing off like the more hardcore parts of Wildstar here. You even showing off the 40-man raids, which is a callback more or less to the good old days of raiding. How do you design a 40-man raid?
We have in our studio, different departments. We have a full team devoted to our dungeons and raids. We have a lead dungeons designer, and we sat down and we decided we wanted our raids to be hardcore. We wanted to bring it back. We had a lot of people in the community asking us for that. So we have a 20-man raid and a 40-man raid in Wildstar. If you want to get to the 40-man raid, you will need to first do the 20-man, and to do the 20-man, you'll have to go through a rain attunement line. So it involves a little bit of work, but we think it'll be pretty fun.
How many raids can we expect at launch?
We have 2 for launch, and we will be developing more post-launch. We have a very aggressive post-launch schedule. We're going to drop new content every 30 days, and I know like on the first drop, we're doing a whole new zone. We have new battlegrounds, new arenas, new raids. We're planning to do additional 20-man and 40-man raids, but we're also going to go back in our post-launch schedule, and we're going to add bosses and rooms to the raids that we have in the game already.
Can you give just a description of your 40-man raid, for example?
Okay, sure. Our 40-man raid is called our Datascape, and it's kind of like a virtual landscape. You go a little bit into the matrix, so to speak. Because of that, we're able to load in a different set of like a different subset of rooms and bosses. So each time, based on like a weekly or monthly timer, when you load into the raid, it might be a different combination of rooms and bosses that you haven't encountered before. So you'll need to master all the different strategies in order to progress.
It sounds when you look at Wildstar in general, it sounds like you have a lot of content already at launch. But people tend to rush through that anyway, because people are dedicated. How do you plan to keep that up, that people always having something to do?
Well, we do have a really aggressive post-launch schedule. We're wanting to drop new content every 30 days. In the shipping game, we have hours and hours and huge systems devoted to all different game styles. So if I want to, power level to cap and start doing in-game content, I can do that. But there's also, I can log into my housing plot and devote hours into housing once I've hit level cap. I can, go back and do content that I skipped. But within the first 30 days after the game ships, we are opening up a new zone that is level 50, but it's going to have everything you would expect in a zone. Tons of quests, not just daily quests, but quests, public events, like 20-man bosses, things like that.
One thing that's always important as well are ordinary dungeons that people that don't get into raids can play. Can you describe those for us?
So we have a few different types of multiplayer systems in our game. We have adventures, dungeons, and raids. Our dungeons and our raids are actually targeted towards our hardcore audience. So the more casual player might find our dungeons to be a little too challenging, but they are available. They unlock at different levels. Our first dungeon, I believe, is at level 6, and we have 4 of them in the game. But if you feel like dungeons are a little too tough, even for you, we have what we call adventures. These are kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure dungeon, but in the open world. They're virtual simulations that send you back to areas of the game you've already been through. And those are for 5-man groups. And they're a little more casual. We have veteran modes for them that are more challenging. But you can pretty much choose your level that you're into. You can do dungeons, which are a little more casual. You can do adventures, which are a little more casual. You can do dungeons, which are a little more hardcore. And then you can hit our raids, which are extreme.
One thing that you mentioned during the presentation we saw earlier, sorry, that you guys didn't see, you talked about adventures, and you talked about a murder mystery. Mm-hmm. How does that work in an MMO?
So our murder mystery adventure, well, the nice thing about adventures actually is because they are simulations and they're alternate realities, we can prototype new types of gameplay that wouldn't normally make sense in, Wildstar. So one of them is kind of a murder mystery. It's called Crime Lords of White Veil, and you show up and your headquarters have been destroyed. Like some gang that you don't know about has wiped you out and killed your boss, and it's up to you to uncover who's the culprit. I believe there are about 6 other gangs in the area, and you have to make decisions about which gangs you want to align with and which ones you want to have a final showdown. At certain points in the adventure, gangs will ask you for help, but you can't help everybody. You have to, make decisions. And you find out at the end, if you were right, if they were actually the culprits. And of course, there's a chance when you load into the adventure that one of the 6 gangs will have done it differently every time. So you don't know who was behind it.
There's also an additional thing. You choose a race, you choose a class, but then you also choose a path in Wildstar. Can you just describe what those actually are?
Sure. We have 4 paths that we offer for players in Wildstar, and as you said, they're not the same thing as your class. Your class is more how you want to engage in combat in our game. Our path is how you want to experience the world, and these are about 20% of the content we have in a game. It's additional content that's specific to your playstyle. So you could be a soldier, a settler, a scientist, or an explorer. And as I said, these are catered to different types of personalities that we find players commonly have. So soldiers are for players that really like to engage in combat. They fight, tons of mobs. They get waves of holdouts that they have to defend against, things like that. Our scientists are for players that really love lore and they want to uncover a deep understanding of Nexus in the game. You'll get special lore unlocks that are unique to you. Our settler is more of our social class. It's for players who want to improve the quality of life and feel like they're making an impact in the world. You gather resources, deposit them to build up, giant infrastructures throughout the world. You could add like a memorial gardens where players and NPCs can come to get a wellness buff and do some extra questing and things like that. And then our explorers for players that like to go off the beaten path. We use a lot of our double jump mechanic. We have vertical play spaces. We use a lot of platforming. We'll send you to areas of the game that aren't accessible to other players, and you'll get additional content that way.
One question, which we talked to Matt from Carbine Studios earlier. Favorite race in the game? It's Chua, right?
I will have a Chua because I can't resist, but actually play a female Mordesh engineer.
Slightly disappointed again.
But yes, I'll have a Chua alt.
That's good. I can buy that. Thank you very much for your time.
Nothing here is what it seems. Nexus has a terrible secret. And now
we're so